Hey guys, so I'm just waiting to get into grocery shopping, so I figured I would tell this story, and it's gonna start out rough, but it ends up restoring your faith in humanity, I promise. So my good friend had her bachelorette party this past weekend in Martha's Vineyard, and 7 of us were going. We were gonna take the ferry down Friday morning, but I had 2 closings that they weren't problematic, but there were a lot of moving parts, and I couldn't leave until they were closed. So I said, you know what, guys, just go, and I'll fly down. I'll meet you down there. And then one of my friends who was going decided she wanted to fly too, whatever. So my husband worked at the airport, used to work at the airport, and he said, those planes are really small. And I said, yeah, it's fine. In fact, it was not. So we arrived at the airport, they call our flight, and it's me, my friend, and one other person. And I'm like, that's a really small flight on a Friday to go to the vineyard. So the gentleman who is with us clearly is an avid vineyard traveler. And I say this because the amount of seersucker that he was wearing bordered on offensive. So everything falls apart, of course, at work right before you're about to get on an airplane. This happens every single time. So I'm like feverishly texting. I'm sending proof of insurance. I'm sending copies of checks, doing all these last minute things. And I'm not even looking up, because you walk out to this plane like you would walk to your car and in a parking lot. So we start walking. I look up and holy shit. First of all, they have some massive nuts calling this thing a plane. It's more like a winged sled. That's what it was. It was like a sled with a little propeller and parakeet wings to get it afloat. And I'm like, I'm being punked. My plane's gonna just roll up and put this one in its pocket, because this can't be real. This was like, what am I, one of the Wright brothers? I have no desire to get on this plane. So I started to get really nervous, and so I asked seersucker in front of me if he takes this flight often, which clearly he does, and he said, it's much smoother than the big planes. So now that's my mantra. It's much smoother than the big planes. It's much smoother than the big planes. And, this is what I'm saying. We arrived to the plane, and the man there said, okay, I need your bags. Okay, sir, it's not a bag, it's a purse, and the drugs are in there, so you probably don't want me getting on your little wing sled without those drugs. So I rifle through, grab my Valium, and get on the plane. And it was as small as I thought it looked outside. It was so small inside. Also, I'm starting to panic, so everything's kind of closing in anyway. So I sit down, and I had to undo the seatbelt to give you this visual. I sit down, and the pilot turns. I'm in the first seat. There's only 2. So the pilot turns around, and this is what I see. Hi, welcome to Cape Air. We were so close. We might have made out. I didn't even notice. That's how close we were. So he says, how are you doing today? And I'm like, actually, I'm a little bit worried. This is perfectly safe. Sir, have you heard of John F. Kennedy Jr.? Because I am quite certain somebody told him that it was perfectly safe before he dove down to his death in a fiery blaze of glory. And you and seersucker clearly make this flight often. Today could be the day that the universe is no longer in your favor, and you are not taking my ass down with you on this plane, and I'm not doing it. So I said, actually, I think I'm not gonna do this. I'm sorry. And what do you mean you're not gonna do it, sir? Personal boundaries. You need to step back. And I said, I can't. And I can feel my throat is starting to get tight, and I'm getting that. If you've had a panic attack, you get like hot on your neck, and your head starts to tingle, and everything's. And I just said, yeah, no, actually, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to stay super composed so I don't lose it. And I'm like, I just can't. I'm so sorry. I'm not going to be able to stay on the plane. So seersucker pipes in. What do you mean, sir? I'm quite certain you brought a Brooks Brothers catalog with you. Why don't you start scrolling through it? There are 3 seats in this plane. You should occupy yours. So I disregard him. And I said, I'm really sorry. I know what's coming because I've experienced this before. And spoiler alert, it's vomit. So you need to get me off this plane. So he's being kind. He's kind of being a dick. And he's like, well, I mean, you're going to delay us. So now I've lost it. I don't have a modicum of civility left. And I'm like, you know what? Open the goddamn door. So they open the goddamn door. He hands me back my bag. And I march down the tarmac or wherever it is. And I get to the terminal. And now I'm literally marching through the terminal like is it China? Is it the Chinese army that marches with their heads to the side? Because I'm full-blown crying by this point in that 20 feet it took to get from the airplane to I'm like, I've lost it. I'm crying, and I don't want anyone to see me because I'm super embarrassed. So I finally, that was Terminal C. I stop in Terminal E. Apparently I walked through Terminal D. I'm assuming, don't recall it. Terminal E is a freaky horror movie. Like, it's black, nobody's there. I don't know if I think it's international because it was closed. So I'm the biggest germ freak in the world pre-coronavirus. I have hand sanitizer everywhere. I have the foam, I have the spray, I have all of the gel at all times. I'm a germaphobe. I am in Terminal E, and I'm dry heaving in their international barrel, which is so disgusting. So I'm trying to calm myself down. I call my friend Karen, who's in the vineyard, to tell her that I'm not on the plane. And she's ready to like swim back to save me. I cannot believe you're alone right now. Oh, she's freaking out. So I'm hyperventilating. So I sit down in the international terminal seat, and I put my head between my legs, which in retrospect means that my face is at ball level of everyone else who is sat in that seat. And I'm fine. I keep saying I'm fine. I clearly was not fine. But I'm trying to kind of get myself to regulate my breathing. But the problem is, I was breathing the whole time, clearly, but even when you get yourself to a spot where you feel like you're breathing normally, you can't put your thoughts together coherently. So now I'm just trying to okay, do I rent a car? Do I take I wanted to go home. Just take an Uber back to my car, which I left at my friend's house, who was still on the plane, and take my car and drive home. That's what I wanted to do. Well, in the midst of this, my phone rings, and it's Cape Air. And this is when the story's going to get good, so hang in there. I answer the phone. I go into work mode immediately. Hello, this is Domenica. And you would never know I was just dry heaving into international germ barrel. So they asked, where, are you still in the terminal? I said, no, I'm not. Well, where are you? I said, I don't know. So they're like, the airport's a circle, just keep walking. So I walked what felt like 26.2 miles back they tell me to come back. So to Terminal C, I get there. Somewhere along the way, I lost my ticket. Either I left it on the plane and Seersucker Man's using it to, play hangman, or I, dropped it in the international germ barrel, or I left it under a ball bag seat. I don't know, but it's gone. So the lady, I'm trying to explain anyway, she prints me a new ticket. I get to the gate, and everybody who works at Cape Air, I'm certain the pilot played Little League with my son last year. That's how young he looked. But the manager comes out, and I think he just got his working papers a week and a half. I think he was running a lemonade stand in July. That's how young he looked. So they were so sweet. They refunded my ticket, which they did not have to do because it's my fault. And I said to them, you don't have to refund the ticket. I didn't fly. That was not your fault. That was my fault. And the girl behind the counter, who was in third grade, said, it's not your fault. Don't say that. It's not true. A lot of people, can't fly on those planes. So not only did they do that, but I never thought to ask them for any help, because once I got off that plane, I'm no longer their problem. Had I stayed on that plane, I would have been their really, really big problem. So they rented me a limo to drive me down to Woods Hole and put me on a ferry. I could not believe it. The limo was right upstairs, and the manager was such a sweet kid, and he said, let me get someone to walk you up. I said, no, I'm fine, I can do it. And he's like, I don't think you are. Let me get someone to walk you upstairs. So it's at that moment I'm like, I should freshen up a little bit. So I turn the front-facing camera on my phone, and holy shit, I looked like a member of Kiss. I have makeup running down my face. It's all over my eyes. And now I try to do the mom thing where I take my tissue and I'm like, I'm trying to wipe. we were beyond that. We needed professional strength makeup remover. This was not going to work. I just threw my sunglasses on. I'm like, you can still see under my sunglasses, like the black. It was like anyone who watched The Hills, Lauren Conrad, you know. So they walked me upstairs, and the gentleman who drove the car's name was Gene, which is my brother's name, but it was also my dad's name. And he was such a doll. He said, you know, can I get you anything? Are you warm enough? And he's like, would you like me to stop at Starbucks? Which, in retrospect, was probably because the Valium had set in, and I was like nodding out in the back seat, and he may have been concerned. But he got me down there. Anyway, my point is, if you are not afraid to fly on a big wheel with wings, I cannot recommend Cape Air enough. They were so fantastic. They treated me with so much kindness. I did get down to the vineyard. I did help my awesome friend Stephanie celebrate, which I was really happy about. She's had to reschedule everything because of COVID and change venues, and I was happy to get to spend the weekend with her. So that is it. This is a shameless plug for Cape Air. They are so fantastic, and I'm so grateful that that is the airline that I was on, or not on Friday. Have a good day, guys.